EWM BBP Template Part 4. Hi everyone, my name is Milos, SAP Logistics Solution Architect for CoreTrust, and today in Part 4 we talk about the internal movements, internal processes, and the famous outbound process. So let's get straight into it here from the this morning cloudy Netherlands. So internal process is all about the internal movements in the warehouse, and nothing that has to do with receiving goods from outside or shipping goods outside, but everything that's happening within the walls of your warehouse. So what are the typical internal processes that needs to be mapped in the BBP? Well, the ad hoc movements, so the specific one-to-one movements from one bin to another, just internally moving a product. Replenishment, when you need to have certain goods in a specific area, in a specific storage type, and therefore you need to regularly replenish, so move those goods in that storage type. That's another typical internal movement. And there's others. There's slotting, there's physical inventory, there's scrapping activities that can happen within your warehouse. Sometimes scrapping is a link to outbound, but scrapping can also be internal. So all those internal processes need to be mapped. And in the BBP chapter, internal processes, you want to map the internal processes, so step by step with a BPM, a business process map. Also, you want to make sure that everything is clear. You understand if there's some automation, so for example, automatic replenishment, and you clearly explain how you're going to do it within the warehouse. Typically, this internal compared to inbound and outbound, it's a little bit easier because it's a little bit less business critical, because you're not dealing with external parties. You're not dealing with your vendors. You're not dealing with your customers. So it's a great topic for anyone who's starting out to start from the internal process. The second part we talk about today is the outbound process. And again, it's the mapping of the processes, the mapping of movement of the goods. Outbound is really probably one of the most critical, if not the most critical process you have in your warehouse typically, right? But for a shipping warehouse, the warehouse shipping to customers, that's definitely the critical part. Why? Because if you don't ship, you cannot invoice. If you cannot invoice, you don't get the money. If you don't get the money, you have problems in your business. So for any business, shipping out, the outbound process is critical. The outbound process, you definitely want to map the different flavors. So for example, are you going to be using waves to group your pickings or your deliveries, and what's the logic with which you will be applying waves? But also, are you going to differentiate and maybe pick differently when you're picking full pallets versus cases, versus layer picking in some cases if you have mixed pallets built with different layers of different products. So again, you want to map that whole process, and you want to remember all the different steps. So if you have picking, packing goods issue, great, that's the classic. Sometimes there's additional value-added services. Sometimes you need to build kits. So you're picking A, B, and C. A, B, and C need to be put together to create product D, the kit, and then you ship it out. So again, you really need to think carefully here, because if you have problems with the outbound process later on, you have big problems in your warehouse. So you definitely want to take time to design it properly. Hope this was all clear. It's fairly straightforward. Inbound, internal, and outbound are always part of the BBP. Hope you enjoy it. Give me a thumbs up if you do. Post a like, post a comment. Let me know if you like it, because it helps me to tailor the content, and it also helps people to find the content and maybe find it useful themselves. And yes, the EWM BBP template will be free, so it will be free for download. Looking forward to share it with you very, very soon. Enjoy your day and speak soon. Bye.